Hello Legacy students. So today we're going to look at what's known as the quadratic formula. This is the math's most other famous formula behind Pythagorean theorem, but quadratic formula is the second most special formula in math. So a long time ago, people only knew how to solve using factoring or square roots, and they realized not every problem can be solved this way. So they freaked out and they went, oh no, we need to find a new way to solve quadratics. So what they then did is the quadratic formula was then born. So you're going to want to definitely have this written down right here. Write down. You're going to want to box him. You're going to want to make sure you find this formula because it is totally important. What's nice about the quadratic formula, guys, is it works with any of the quadratics. So you know how factoring only worked when it could factor and square root only worked when we had square roots. This works no matter what. You can always plug stuff into the quadratic formula and it will always work. So my quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So this gives us solutions to any quadratic formula. Now notice, guys, a, b, and c. You have already been identifying a, b, and c while we've been doing our factoring. So this is actually not going to be too bad. All it is plugging in numbers into a formula. So let's try our first problem here. It looks like my pencils decided to disappear, so make sure you write this down. X squared plus 2x minus 8. So over here in this corner, I'm going to put my quadratic formula. There we go. So, first things first, identify what's A, what's B, and what is C. So what number is A? Now remember, guys, just like in factoring, your A, your B, and your C are just going to be numbers. No x's involved. So A looks like it's going to be a 1. B is 2. C is negative 8. So now, guys, all we need to do is plug it into our formula. So negative B, negative 2, plus or minus the square root of b squared. So that's 2 squared minus 4 times my a, which is 1, times my c, which is negative 8, divided by 2 times my a value, which is 1. Okay? Now let's go ahead and multiply this out here. So I get negative 2 plus or minus the square root. Let's figure out what's underneath here. So 2 squared, that is 4. And then I have negative 4 times 1 times negative 8. So negative 4 times 1 times negative 8 is a positive 32. So it's actually going to be 4 plus 32 right there. Following me so far? Then I'm going to be 2 times 1 on the denominator, which is just 2. Now let's figure out what's under this square root. So I have negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 plus 32, which is 36, right? Divided by 2. So this is negative 2 plus or minus square root of 36 is 6 divided by 2. Now you're probably saying, Marsh, what the heck is this answer? Here's how you need to interpret it. So it's going to be negative 2 plus 6 divided by 2. That's one answer. And then the other answer is negative 2 minus 6 divided by 2. So that's what that plus or minus is saying. Either I'm going to add 6 or I'm going to subtract 6. So let's find the actual two answers. So I have negative 2 plus 6. That is 4, right? And then I'm going to divide by 2. So one of my answers is 2. And then negative 2 minus 6 is negative 8. Divide that by 2. So one of my other answers is negative 4. So 2 and negative 4 both work in my problem. So x has to equal 2 or x has to equal negative 4 for my answers. Let's try another one. Same thing, pencil. Alright, so let's identify my A, my B, and my C. So 1, -6, and 7. So let's write our formula up here. B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. There we go. So B, this is negative B. So I'm going to go negative -6. Negative negative is just a positive, right? So it'd be 6 plus or minus the square root. -6 squared minus 4 times my A, which is 1, times my C, which is 7, all over 2 times my A, which is 1. Now let's simplify under that square root. So I got 6 plus or minus the square root. -6 squared. Now guys, notice how I put the -6 in parentheses. Please do that on your calculator as well. So that way at least you'll get a 36. And then it'll be -4 times 1 times 7. That's -28. So it's actually going to be 36 minus 28. And then 2 times 1, which is just 2. So I got 6 plus or minus the square root of, I need to know what 36 minus 28 is. 8. Sounds about right. Divided by 2. Square root of 8, guys, that's not a nice number. So actually, we can leave it in this following format. 6 plus or minus the square root of 8 divided by 2. Now, if you actually want to know what the heck does that mean, you can find out what the square root of 8 is on your calculator, which is approximately 2.83. So ultimately, this is approximately 6 plus or minus 2.83 divided by 2. So ultimately, guys, you could find your two answers based on this formula. However, you can leave it in this form if the square root is not a perfect square. Okay? Last one of the night. So I got 3x squared plus 4x equals -2. So before you jump in and identify your A, B, and C, stop. Notice that -2 is not on the same side. Every single one of these we've been equal to 0. So you need to be equal to 0 on this one as well. So let's add 2 to both sides. So I got 3x squared plus 4x plus 2 equals 0. Now I can identify my A, B, and C because I am solved equal to 0. So my A is 3, that's new. B is 4, C is 2. So off here in the corner, I'm going to write my formula. By the end of this, guys, you're going to be able to spit out this formula back to me. So I got negative B, so -4, plus or minus the square root of B squared, which would just be 4 squared, minus 4 times my A, which is 3, times my C, which is 2, divided by 2 times my A, which is 3. Now let's simplify the radical in there. So that'd be the square root of 4 squared, which is 16. Now let's figure out what this is. -4 times 3 times 2. That is -24 underneath that square root. And then 2 times 3, 6. So let's figure out what that is. So -4 plus or minus the square root of 16 minus 24, that is -8 divided by 6. Now, when we were solving with square roots, remember, you can't take the square root of a negative number. No answers, no real answers. So my actual answer would be no real solutions. Because I cannot find the answer since there is a square root under the radical. Big no-no. And that's the end of this video. See you later, Sabers.